You are listening to Visionaries Wrestling Network, providing your perfect podcast experience.
Hey, it's the Warhorse coming to you straight out of a U-Haul trailer. Now, it's time to clean out your ears and listen to some good MGB Wrestling podcast.
Alright, this is eventually going to turn into a review of the Graps 16 tournament from September 21st in 2019 from Black Label Pro. Now, we were kind of tracking this. I seem to remember you had a baseball on Saturday, and we saw some of the results. I saw that Orange Cassidy was in this tournament, and I guess we don't want to give too many spoilers away, although we kind of have to say why we're actually reviewing this in the end. Warhorse, Jake Parnell, as he was formerly known, we saw was in this tournament and eventually went on to win this tournament. And he's one of our favourites. Mm-hmm. You got a couple of t-shirts from him, I got some stuff from him, and we kind of knew he was in the final and we were excited about it. So we were like, hey, why don't we go watch the Graps tournament? Now, we probably had lofty goals for this episode, and we've had a busy week. You've had lots going on. Wednesday, we started to do this. We actually watched the thing on Independent Wrestling TV. Thursday, you had baseball, so it was kind of late. Friday, we went to my school's high school football game because we haven't seen one of those this season. Saturday, we had wrestling, so you had baseball as well. Jackson had baseball as well. And that'll be our review for the following week because it was Primetime Pro Wrestling. And yeah, we've been out this Sunday morning, so we're literally 12 hours before we're set to release. So I was going to do some extra stuff. You were going to do some research because you were like, hey, I want to look at these people. And it never quite turned out to do that way. Luckily for me, I did get up about 5:30 on Saturday. One thing I did do, which I wanted to, was go back and listen to all the stuff that we have on Warhorse. We've met him at Nova Pro 2 or 3 times. I know we've seen some of his matches, so I went back and I did dig out the clips from them. So we're actually going to start with that. So I guess this episode really is the rise of Warhorse from early Nova Pro days to current IWTV Champion. Okay? Now, I went back and obviously I listened to these. You haven't listened to these. I've got the clips all set up ready. I wanted to remind you about what we actually did, so I'm going to jog your memory a little bit. So, first time we saw him was the Nova Pro Old Dominion Rumble in April 2018. So, I'm hoping that at least jogs your memory a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Now, some of the matches that were actually in this one. The reason Warhorse was in this one was he faced Wheeler Yuta, John Schuyler, and Percy Davis. It was a 4-way qualifying match to be in the Commonwealth Cup. Do you remember anything about that match at all? All right, I'm going to give you a clue, and then we're going to play the clip anyway. It was one with the lollipops. You remember the lollipops?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I thought that was Mikey Banker that was in
Now,
that.
some of the other matches that are actually on this card to help you remember that event. The 1%ers, Bobby Shields, Gunnar Miller, Logan Easton LaRoe, defeated the Ugly Ducklings and Eric Royal. I would like to rewatch that match. Yeah. Now, I'm like, man, that sounds like a good one. I'm sure you'll remember this one. Jordan Grace defeated Shazza McKenzie.
I remember the start of it.
I remember the start of it as well, the streamer. And this was the first time we actually got to meet Benjamin in person. Benjamin Banks and Victor Griff defeated Bobby Orlando and Harry Zen.
I remember that. I remember like the I think he did a people's elbow onto the goat.
It did, because they were heels for this one, and we didn't know that ahead of time. So that was kind of a significant event for us. So anyway, let's play the clip from that event then.
In match 8 is John Schuyler versus Warhorse versus Yuta Wheeler versus Percy Davis.
Now, John Schuyler, I thought I recognised the name and I couldn't remember why. Here's why I actually recognise the name. I looked on Twitter. He's actually been on NXT, he's been on WWE, and he's been on Ring of Honor. Now, I believe this is his debut as far as I can tell. That's not the reason why I remembered him, though. I don't think either of us picked up on this, because I looked on his record to see who he's actually been fighting. We saw him last week. He was at Maryland Championship Wrestling. He fought against Greg Excellent.
Oh, yeah, that's why
As soon as I saw it, it was like, oh, that's... So I felt kind of silly not recognising that before. We also saw his match on WWE only a couple of weeks ago. He lost to No Way Jose in 25 seconds. Remember the guy who dances around the ring? He just came in from NXT. So he's actually been on a few matches recently.
Oh,
and I said there's another big name. He lost to Cassius Ohno on NXT in February as well. So he's a legit wrestler right here. He's been in some big matches.
Is he still wrestling WWE now?
That I don't know about. That remains to be seen, but it was probably pulled... Well, certainly for the No Way Jose, he was obviously pulled in as like the jobber. He's going to lose quickly, but that was it. But cool that you can actually even do that stuff. I was really impressed with John Schuyler. His win rate for 2018 is only 18%, which is absolutely appalling. And Warhorse made his Nova Pro debut at Cupid's Chokehold and a loss to Tim Donst, which he was never going to win that one, unfortunately for him. So he came in 0-1. Wheeler Yuta was making his third appearances. He lost to John Kerman on his debut in November, and he lost to Logan Easton Lareau in February, so he's coming in 0-2. And Percy Davis, this was actually his third Nova Pro match. We haven't seen any of his previous two, though. He came in February 2017 and May 2017, and one of those matches he lost was a four-way match involving Isaiah Fraser and Sage Phillips. So that would be kind of tough to win against regulars like that as well.
And I don't really have much for this match because I was really into it, and I was also rolling up a banner.
Streamer.
Streamer, which we'll talk about in the next match.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, I'll go ahead then, because I definitely have stuff for this match. It started off with Percy Davis handing out candy. He actually handed it out to the crowd, first of all. We managed to get one piece, I think it was. And then he threw like a whole bag to one person as well. Okay, so he handed out a lollipop to Yuta. He takes it, and then they both start playing with their lollipops and sucking on the lollipops. And then he tries to hand one to John Schuyler, and he refuses it. And so did Warhorse. He didn't want a piece of candy either. And in fact, actually, they knocked the candy out of their hands. So it was like, oh! And then anyway, the guys with the lollipops actually got the advantage. They took their guys, took them to the ring posts, climbed up, and then started hitting them in the head while the crowd's counted. 1, 2, 3. And then normally they stop at 10. Once they got to 9, they took their lollipops out of their mouths and they stuck it in their opponent's mouths. Which you could hear from the crowd. That is gross. And I thought it was funny. I really liked that part. Now, part of the storyline for this story was John Schuyler and Warhorse claimed that they had a deal throughout, and they were trying to work together. And it did. They did work together until one of them was about to win. So it would be like, 1, 2, and then you pull them off the top. And it's like, what are you doing? I thought we had a deal. And they're like, all right, let's go for it. And then the roles would reverse.
Oh, yeah,
the
they
other
would
one
do like, we had a deal. And then they would shake hands.
And then they would just do the reverse. So whoever was the person that wasn't involved, they would do the pin. 1, 2, and same thing, the guy would pull them off on 3. So I thought that was I kind of liked that storyline as well. That also carried on. Warhorse delivered a stomp on the back after jumping from the top rope on John Schuyler, which I thought was really good. And he actually said, "Do this." Anyway, the end of the match, I don't even have the finish. I know Yuta qualified, and I think he deservedly so. He shouldn't go 0-3. He's been somebody who's impressed us for both of our matches, and I actually called Yuta to win this one before it even started. You could just tell it was going that way. Now, I knew Warhorse wasn't going to win, and that's who we were rooting for, because I actually looked on his schedule, and he has a list of where he's fighting and when he's not fighting, open matches, and he had an open date for when the Commonwealth Cup is. So if he was going to win that match, obviously he wouldn't be taking bookings for when the Commonwealth Cup is. So it's kind of unfortunate that I knew part of that match before it even started. After the match, Fred Yehai was also announced as being in the tournament, and that was according to pwponderings.com. Let's go to the second time then. This was American Slang 18, which was July 2018. And this was special, Mason, because we weren't there. We reviewed it, but we were in England. This was in the summer, so we weren't there. So we had to watch it on IWTV, or I think it was probably Powerbomb TV at that point. And some of the main matches for this one. The Powerbomb TV independent title match, Tracy Williams defeated Eric Royal. Certainly remember that one.
Yeah.
And Homicide defeated Wheeler Yuta.
I remember that one.
Yeah. And the match that actually Warhorse was on, we couldn't do much about this one. This was actually a dark match. So this was actually on the pre-show, so this actually wasn't even featured on IWTV. But it was Alexander James defeated Bobby Shields, Gary J, Graham Bell, Isaac Fraser, Jake Garvin, Jake Parnell, John Kerman, Killer Kelly, Lucas Calhoun, Mikey Banker, Steve Manders, and Victor Benjamin. Killer Kelly. I was like, I don't remember Killer Kelly being at Nova Pro. And I guess probably because we didn't see that match. Killer Kelly's been on a few things.
I don't know.
You don't recognize that name at all? Big female wrestler. I was really shocked about that one. Alright, this is a special episode of the MGB Wrestling Podcast. This is A6. This is American Slang. And it's kind of a special one for a couple of reasons. One, we weren't actually there. We were actually in England at the time, so I've been catching up on Powerbomb TV. And two, you'll notice I said I as well. Mason's not actually going to be doing this one with me, so you just got me. It's probably going to be a bit shorter, and I'm not going to have him to bail me out when I miss something as well, or him give him his insight. Now, Powerbomb TV didn't have the pre-show, and let me go through quickly the results from this. Jake Parnell, this was actually a gauntlet match, and I think this is the match that went on for an hour. I think I saw on Twitter somebody say that this was one of the longest matches. Perhaps not quite that long. Jake Parnell was first in, and he was with Mikey Banker. And Jake actually beat 5 people. He beat Mikey, Graham Bell, Lucas Calhoun, Jake Garvin, and Gary J. Then John Kerman submitted Jake Parnell. Savage Gentleman pinned John Kerman. Steve Manders pinned the Savage Gentleman. Bobby Shields defeated Steve Manders. Isaiah Frazier defeated Bobby Shields. Alex James defeated Isaiah Frazier. And then the last person in was Killer Kelly, due to a referee stop due for injury. Thankfully, she will be okay. Now, Killer Kelly actually put on Twitter, so my @VA Wrestling debut didn't go as planned because I'm super clumsy and I sprained both my ankle and elbow. Or as I like to call it, didn't want to get pinned or submitted by @PrinceofPro, which is Alexander James. Thank you so much for the amazing reception, even though I wasn't announced. She also went on to tweet a little bit later, by the way guys, I'm fine, I just need some days to rest and I'll be okay to wrestle next weekend. Also, thank you @VA Wrestling for having me, you guys are great and I definitely want to be back. And that was fairly early as well, that was from like 10:42 PM it says. So this was only a few hours after the match, so obviously she's in pretty good shape. Okay, our third time that he appeared at Nova Pro was Nova Project 4, September 2018. So this was the year anniversary when we started going to independent wrestling events, actually. So main ones from this one would have been the Ugly Ducklings defeat the Hooligans. Now, that might not spring out to you too much until I tell you that was the Ducks, Ladders, and Chairs match.
Oh, I remember the part where they taped a chair on Lance's back, and then they did a launch pad in the quack.
That was, to me, that was one of the best matches of 2018 that we got to see. Too Cold Scorpio was there as well.
Oh yeah,
that
I
was
remember
one where
that
he faced Eric
raised
Rowe.
my arm when he was during the entrance.
Yeah. And the match specifically for Jake Parnell, as it lists him here, John Schuyler defeats Graham Bell and Harlem Bravado, and Jake Parnell, Ken Dixon, and Steve Manders. Harlem Bravado, that goes back a long way. When we started reviewing some of the early Nova Pros, he was in like the first one, I think, and possibly even the second one.
Is he the one that grew who shrunk?
No, you said he grew like 8 inches or something,
Yeah,
I seem to remember. Allegedly, but yes, that is the person that we're talking about. Alright, let's go take a listen to that one then.
Match 9. Ken Dixon, Jake Parnell, John Schuyler, Graham Bell, Dollar Inside Hope, Steve Manders.
6-man tag team. I must have missed some tweets. I did not know Jake Parnell was going to be there. I didn't know Graham Bell was going to be there. I put for this one, there was just way too much going on. It was great to see Warhorse. We didn't bring the Graham Bell photograph because we know he still owes us an autograph. We have his picture. I think he just says, hi, thanks Mason on it right now. Yeah. Or to Mason, but we didn't actually get his autograph. We messed up on that one. I do have one thing for this. You put your hand out for a high five, and I did too. And then he actually punched the hand, and you got injured.
I got it like a burn. Like he punched it so hard.
He's a Warhorse. You got excited by it. Are we going to sue him?
No.
Okay, go on. Tell us what you got.
Okay, so I have Graham Bell actually with the bazooka.
Yeah, you got it back. Yeah.
And clothesline on the apron. I have that.
I saw something like that as well. I put a spear on the apron by John Schuyler. But yeah, that was like, that's going to be really dangerous. Yeah. That can really hurt.
The ring apron is the hardest thing on the... it's like metal, right? Like, remember when Titus?
Oh, it'll hurt.
Like, when he fell, like, the ring apron went up, and you could see that there's metal, and then that's...
When he slid under the Greatest Royal Rumble,
yes. And then there's wood. That's the only thing that's covering it, and that's still.
Yep.
But
now, about the bazooka, a quote from Graham Bell. It's been nearly a year. I searched high and low for the man that took it, and when I found them, they slipped through my fingers time and time again. But tonight, I got #Justice for Zook, and my beautiful bazooka made its return to @VA Wrestling. Now let's get to work.
Did he name his bazooka?
Apparently. Sounds like it. I have one other thing as people walked in. Steve Manders came through. We've seen him before. I think he used to play football for the Iowa Hawkeyes, I think it is. And he lifted a little kid up from who was just behind us into the air. I can remember who it was. And actually, I saw from Maddie, she mentioned who it was. It was actually his nephew. Do you remember there was the chance of Uncle Steve?
Yeah.
That was his nephew. I forgot. I thought it was his son to begin with. So that was kind of a cool moment as well. I'm sure that kid will remember that bit.
Okay, so I have a suicide from Graham Bell and a double stomp by Jake Parnell. And Graham kissed his bazooka.
That was at the end of the match after it had finished. Now, I actually have the buff ref actually stopped the suicide dive from Graham Bell. People were actually moving out of the way from it, but then he actually jumped up on the rope, used the ref's hand to steady him, and then did a flip from the top rope, which was kind of cool. Also, when Jake was on the floor near us, I was like, "Let's go, Jake!" He said, "I'm going as fast as I can."
He said, "Okay, I am," and then you said, "Okay, in a minute," and then he said, "Okay, I'm going as fast as I can."
That's right. You're right. I misquoted that. I also got Jake to the drop kick from the rope and took out people, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And for the ending, then John Schuyler has Jake on his shoulders and actually rolls him up, and everyone from the outside looked like they were going to break it up, and none of them quite made it. If it had been a 4 count, they would have got it. But no, that was it. That was the end of the match. Everyone was a little surprised, actually. I think.
All right, and the last time that I can find from 2018 was Thanksgiving. This was the Stay Gold Pony Boy. And the one that this will be memorable for was the Torneo Cybernetico match. So I think it was like 8-on-8 or something.
Yeah.
So we have that one. And Jake featured on this one. Another one. This was a dark match, but we saw this one because we were actually there in person. Steve Manders, again, I think I've said Steve Manders' name three times now, defeats Alecki, Jake Parnell, Josh Fuller, and Mac Buckler. Now, we don't actually have a review for this one.
Yeah.
And the reason we don't have a review, I don't remember what that is.
I remember.
Okay.
Because, like, the Cybernetico was supposed to be, like, you've heard that it usually goes on for, like, 3 hours, and so you didn't want to take notes for a 3-hour match, so that's
But there was
why.
other matches. But anyway, we did kind of old MGB style. We picked out top 3 moments. So we have a little bit of a clip. I think I included, like, the first 2 minutes of what we talked about as one of your moments, just so we had some clip from that event. All right, this is A11. This is the 11th event of this year, Mason, that we've been to. Stay Gold Pony Boy, Friday, 23rd November. We're recording this a week later, actually. And it was at the, this was the JCC, I think, wasn't it? The Jewish Community Center?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, we're doing this one a little different for a couple of reasons. One, first of all, we didn't actually think Mason was going to be going to this one for a while. So we had to change a few things. This was supposed to be the one where we were supposed to interview Josh Fuller, and we were supposed to do a quiz against Jackson. Josh, we apologise for that. We didn't think Mason was going to be there. We didn't have a chance to prepare any of the quiz. He was supposed to prepare a quiz, but he lost his internet access. So we'll try and reschedule that at some point in the future, hopefully. Also, this has just been a crazy busy week this week. So we're not going to do our normal format and go through the whole card. We're just going to pick out top 3 moments. We'll talk about, we'll list the results though, and perhaps some honourable mentions, and who knows, perhaps we might think of other things to talk about. All right, do you want to start us off with what you had as your third best moment? This is more like a regular MGB, right?
Uh-huh. My third moment is Coach Mikey. He held up our signs to the Powerbomb TV people watching, and on one of the signs it said Quack Friday, and on the other one it said Happy Quacksgiving. It did, and we actually saved these from last year. This was we were pretty excited. This is how quick we got into the Ugly Ducklings. We'd only been going for a couple of months. We were like, we got to make signs. And after that, I actually thought we saw Warhorse again in 2019 at Nova Pro. Now, the only problem is, though, the cage match thing is not very good, so it's very difficult to find the matches, and they don't have everything there. So I just left it at the end of 2018, and I kind of ran out of time as well, because you had to leave really early for your baseball game on Saturday morning. So I did as much as I could. Anyway, we did review the Turbo Graps tournament. So the first round match was... Now, we are not reviewing the whole event. We're really focusing on some of the key matches that we wanted to see that kind of led into Warhorse winning this. So, first round match was Lucky Kid versus Warhorse.
So the arms on the Lucky Kid shirt are way too long.
I looked at that at the time. I've got down here, what was he wearing? It looks like a piece of modern art. And actually the commentators made some comment about that his sleeves were massive and that he was going to be performing in Disney's Little Mermaid. I don't quite know what that's got to do with long sleeves, but they were definitely making fun of his clothing for sure.
So the Lucky Kid takes 3 people's hats on it and then puts it on his head for good luck.
He just ran around there. After he'd finished with them, I think he launched them like all over the place as well, so you actually had to go find them. Yeah. That's not easy to do.
And then Warhorse kicks out of a big power bomb, and Lucky, he does the flippy thing, but Warhorse catches him and into a suplex and then into a double stomp for the win.
No, I got that as well. It reminded me very much of Ricochet for that one. and everyone had to clear out from the front row particularly quick. I got the thing that you mentioned about Lucky Kid grabbing the hats. That reminded me of graduation as well. You know the hats they wear at school? Everyone throws them like as high as they can, and then they just land all over. And of course, they all look the same.
Oh.
It's really different. I don't know how they ever people. I'm sure you write your name on the inside or something. I don't know if people care. I don't know how expensive they are, but every year I'm there, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a lot of money that people have lost.
Like when we used to do this, like after we say the Little League pledge in baseball, we used to like throw our hats in the air.
Oh yeah, play ball.
Yeah. But we don't do that anymore.
No. Now, the thing I mentioned at the start, because I knew you were going to focus on the match itself, was massive cheers for Warhorse. The crowd was really hyped for him anyway, and once, because we already knew the result of this one, and he was like, he's going to be a popular winner. The fact that they were cheering for him and it was a first round match, I was like, that's a great sign. I put vicious fist bumps as he's going around, and then I said to you, I was like, didn't you get injured once by him?
Well, he like gave me a little cut. From the fist bump.
Because it
was because his knuckle hit like the padded part of my fist.
And there was big chance of Warhorse as well. Now, I noticed, I went for some of the more less obvious details. The roof reminded me of the JCC.
It did?
That was the first one we ever went to. When they kind of scrolled up, when they were like on the ground, they looked up. I don't know what that venue was, but it kind of was like a sporting... I think I saw a sign that said something to do with volleyball, so I don't know if it was like a sporting venue as well.
It was a volleyball place.
Yeah, but they were certainly looking upwards, I was like, that could have been the JCC. It was really high, because we've been to some events where the ceiling's been really low. Particularly yesterday as well.
Yeah.
Like Primetime Pro Row is really low. Like when they do jumps, you've kind of got to jump down first because it looks like you might bang your head possibly. I had one more thing on here that I saw. Oh, the double stomp you talked about. It was on his head.
Yeah.
I've only ever seen him do double stomps on the back before. So I don't know if that was mistimed, or it might have even been his neck.
I think it was an accident.
Oh, okay. But I was like, oof, that's kind of... I know he has a very violent persona, but it was kind of different. I mentioned one other thing. Once we talked about Warhorse before, he has changed his outfit since we've last seen him. I've seen him at St. Louis Anarchy as well, and I noticed he looked a little different. He had... I thought he reminded me of Ultimate Warrior, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about the face paint, how he got his eye on his eyes, and certainly his pumped up energy as well.
He reminds me of Gallows.
Yes, Gallows does that now as well. I would definitely agree with that as well. And I had a few other things as well. Undertaker-like moves on the ropes, and then an STF-like Cena. I think that was Lucky Kid. I think he was the acrobatic one, but yeah, he was definitely borrowing moves that we've seen in other places. All right, match 2. Well, not match 2, but our match 2. Eric Stevens versus question mark. This was the last match from the first round. And there was a huge pop as he walked through the entrance. Nobody recognized his music. As soon as his music came on, we were like, well, we already knew, because I'd already knew that he'd lost the IWTV Championship at this time. Orange Cassidy. It's like, wow. So, Eric Stevens versus Orange Cassidy was the last match of round 1.
Oh, so then Orange Cassidy, he does his usual lazy stuff.
Hmm?
And then, he has his hands in his pockets, and then again, Eric Stevens tries to take them out, like always.
Uh-huh.
And then, and then that's all I have, really. And
Okay, now...
I didn't take notes because I forgot.
Alright, so this part will have got edited out. You tried to stop me because you were like, whoa, I got something to say. I was like, hold on, do you want me to introduce the match first? So you had literally nothing. And you went straight into the match, and I was like, hold on, I actually have stuff for the introduction. And you stopped me because you were like, I have something... You said you did a lot of research for this, you told me.
For match 2.
This is match 2.
Jake something versus Filthy Tom versus...
Oh, we're talking about a totally different match. Alright, so it looks like I got this match then, and you got the next match. He was also wearing a Turbo Graps shirt and not his Orange Cassidy shirt, which I thought was kind of interesting. Jackson, I forgot, we bought the Orange Cassidy t-shirt from him, and I don't think he's worn it until this week. I think he must have got put on the bottom of his t-shirt pile. But we put it on. I haven't seen him wear it.
Oh, that happens with me with my favorite Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar shirt. Mm-hmm. So I wear it as soon as I get it washed, and then I have to put it in the bottom of the laundry, and then we don't put all of the laundry in the basket. So sometimes, Mom does half of it because that's all that fits in the laundry. And then later, once I fill it all the way up, she does half again.
And for the record, Dad sometimes does laundry as well. I don't want you thinking that it's just Mom that does that.
And then Dad does half of it, and then some later time, 5 weeks probably, then they do the whole thing.
But anyway, he did take it off, and underneath he was wearing that shirt. So it was classic Orange Cassidy in the end. But it did look... I actually like that Turbo Grap shirt. I think they were all... kind of a few people wearing it. It looked like they had all the entrants on the back as well. I thought it was kind of like a nice little souvenir for that. They did the weird test of strength at the start. And I'm kind of surprised Orange Cassidy even offered that. Because to do that, he had to take his hands out of his pocket, which is totally against his theme. But anyway... the other guy put on aviator glasses as well, because he was trying. In the end, he's just like, well, if you're going to be like that, I'm going to try and match you. I'm going to try and Orange Cassidy you, basically. They started bashing into each other. I'm using air quotes right now. So they just walked into each other, and then when they walked back, it's whoa! Then they bounced off the ropes, barely touch each other, and then the other one would go back. So we had that one. We had the OJ to the eyes, which is Orange Cassidy's obviously finishing part. A Canadian Destroyer, but actually Stevens still won. He actually kicked out of some of those moves. It looked, to me, for the whole time, even though I knew the result, it looked like Orange Cassidy was going to win that. It was kind of a surprise in the end when it didn't happen. Now, I also wrote down here, Mason was surprised he won. You were like, whoa, he actually won. I told you Orange Cassidy lost the championship. I'd already told you that.
I know.
And I told you Warhorse, but you seem to have like the memory of a goldfish for this one. You had no idea what was going on in these matches. You were like, whoa. And we'd even talked about it as well.
I knew that Warhorse would win the whole thing. I just did it. I thought he would face Orange Cassidy in the finals.
Oh, even I told you Orange Cassidy had lost that. And you were
No.
surprised about that. You were like, whoa, Orange
I thought
Cassidy
it was
lost.
like a I thought it was like...
Double elimination like baseball?
No, not double elimination. There was like 32 people or something like that.
Now-
It was like the Nova Pro like Commonwealth
right.
Cup, and then
Now, I was kind of surprised at the time until I realised it's only 10 days away from when he lost it until the AEW TV show comes on.
Oh,
So if he's going to be on a weekly basis, I'm assuming his indie work's going to cut down dramatically. So we didn't have to have like an Arlington screw job or anything like that. He obviously gave up the title at that point. So it actually made sense that he lost, but I just hadn't realised that at the time. I was just like, whoa, Orange Cassidy lost? I was kind of a bit surprised. Alright, match 3 then, I think we have. Is this the Jake something and Filthy Tom Lawler, Gary J and Eric Stevens semi-final that you want to talk about?
yes, finally you got the
So, there were 8 matches, and obviously 8 winners, and they split them up into 2 pools of 4. We're not going to talk about who they won in the first round, but go ahead then. This is the one that you actually researched.
So I didn't get much time, but I did get to spend some 10 minutes on looking up Jake something. So
I remember you talking to me about it, because you were saying, oh, there's this wrestler, Jake something. I'm like, what's his last name? I'm like, Parnell. And you're like, no, something. I'm like, I didn't realize his last name was literally the word something. I thought you couldn't remember what his name was. I remember you talking about him before I even knew who he was.
yeah, and so he's Ruby Riot's boyfriend, and he was part of the Ring of Honor dojo, and he trained with Austin Aries.
Oh, nice.
And he was also in Impact. And so I saw lots of things on AAW, so I just started looking at it, and then like I went to their page, and then they had like some 6 matches just like posted on there. And so the first one is Lucha Brothers versus Myron Reed and AR Fox. And then Jacob Fatu versus Congo Kong.
Yep.
Sammy Callahan versus just anybody.
Open challenge?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 4, Jessica Havoc versus Taya Valkyrie. Jimmy Jacobs versus Mance Warner, and loser leads AAW.
Oh,
and
wow.
6, Jake something versus Trey Miguel for the championship.
And you'd asked me, had I heard of it? And yeah, I used to try and follow it. It's really difficult. You can get some of the matches, I think, on Power Slam TV, but they kind of like really old ones, so I kind of lost interest a little bit. And yeah, no, the ones I've seen are like really good. And unfortunately, it's in Chicago. I remember looking, actually. I think this is the one that actually the Powerbomb girls go to. Because I think I actually asked Sam at one point. I was like, is that suitable for Mason? And I think she said possibly not. And it's a 5-hour drive from where we were anyway. But it was one I actually looked into last winter to try and go to. Because I knew some of the people who appeared there. They have big stars, for sure.
So Lolo might go there.
That's possible, yeah, with her living in Chicago. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's a few really good organizations in Chicago. And Black Label Pro often appears there as well, and Freelance as well. So, yeah, there's a lot in that sort of area. Well, they don't base there, but yeah, they certainly appear there sometimes. And obviously now AEW as well. The All-In shows are always there.
So there was this funny thing that happened a little before my baseball game where you're saying that there was a new promotion starting in DC. And then I guessed AEW, but I was wrong.
It's not that, but yes, I guess in a week's time, as we're recording today, there is. I think it's called like Fight Club Pro or something, but the fight is with a 1 instead of an I. But the initials for it were really confusing. There was like 6 initials. So anyway, there was like a caption. It's like the name, and then there's like an abbreviation underneath. So I think we're gonna go check it out anyway. We'll see what it's like. We might do a review for that if we like it, but it's not too expensive.
We have a lot to
anyway.
review for the next couple weeks.
We've got a few different
We have
events. We have
AEW and Primetime Pro.
We don't have to review everything, of course.
Yeah.
But all right. Anything else for this one? What else did you get in your 10 minutes of research?
That was it.
Well, let me talk about Gary J then specifically, because I think I told you, because I don't know if you made that connection. That's the guy who Warhorse fought against when he got his rip in his mouth, and that's actually when I first got to talk to Warhorse, I guess. I think it started from... I'm trying to remember. I know it was online. I know somebody posted the pictures, and it was like, oh my gosh. And then Warhorse was actually on that thread, and we chatted a little bit. And I bought one of his boxes from him because I don't know if he could wrestle at that time. But I was like, sure, I'll buy a box. We got some cool merch from that actually. I got a T-shirt. I know you got a keychain that looks like the
Turnbuckle.
The turnbuckle. Thank you. There was a little flag. I think it was a backpack as well. Some sticker. It was a lot of stuff actually. It was definitely well worth doing. So. I got a T-shirt. Yeah, I know I got a T-shirt, and then we bought other T-shirts from him later. So yeah, they have some really brutal battles actually. They have some, and they actually carry on fighting. I've seen them on several matches on IWTV. I know Gary J is also at St. Louis Anarchy as well, which is where Warhorse was fighting. I forgot who it is now. Nick Gage.
Yeah.
Yes, that was another match that I looked at beforehand. So I actually watched that match. You didn't watch that match. I wanted to watch it ahead of time anyway. That was really violent. It reminded me a lot of the Nick Gage match we saw at Nova Pro in terms of chairs being scattered, trash cans being thrown, and the cameras couldn't keep up with all the action. You probably could watch it, but it was, St. Louis Anarchy is a good one to actually watch as well. So yeah, Gary J's there along with Warhorse. Eric Stevens, obviously, was the person that just beat Orange Cassidy. And Filthy Tom Lawler we get to see anyway on a regular basis from MLW. And I think we actually saw him at I'm going to forget what it is. What's the one in Cleveland? AIW.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're all so close to each other. So we've seen him in person as well. What about the match itself?
So we skipped to the end just so we could watch the finish, and it was a backbreaker by Eric Stevens for the win.
And that was what I was trying to remember. I was like, I know we were short on time that day as well, so we were like, hey, look, we got a lot to... It was actually over 2-3 hour sessions, so we didn't have time to watch 6 hours, so we kind of cut to the highlight part. But we did want to know how Eric Stevens won, because we knew that he was going to be in the final against Warhorse. Now, the second semi-final then was Warhorse versus Jody Fleisch versus Carlos Romo versus Danny Adams.
So, Jody Fleisch was the one in WrestleGate Pro that did a flip off the wall.
He was. And I can say, once they announced his name, I was like, I remember him. And he actually had British flags all over his outfit as well, just to try and remind us that, hey, I'm from Britain.
Yeah.
That's what you have?
No.
Danny Adams, I think we saw when we were in Canada this summer as well.
So Jody, he jumped over Warhorse, and then there was a missile drop kick, and then Carlos. I put Carlos, and then Carlos DDT Danny the same time. Warhorse, he like does a missile drop kick at the same time, and then Warhorse wins with the double stomp again.
He did, and I got a couple of other things. I know you were talking about some of the moves there. I put a nice flip from Carlos Romo. Warhorse's dive went way too far over the top.
Oh, yeah.
He basically overshot everybody. It was he had so much energy going there. I love that hustle though. The other two sold it, and it was fine. Everyone was excited by it, but yeah, he went a long way into the look. Well, luckily no crowd was there, but where the seats certainly were. What else? Yeah, Fleisch followed up with that. Oh, there was one bad one in this one as well. Jody Fleisch let go of his Hurricane Rana way too early, and basically Carlos Romo just had to flip himself off the top rope. He was sort of stood there, and he was like, oh, and then just flipped off. That looked really bad. I like from commentary, they described it as a twisty thing by Carlos Romo, which actually reminds me of Penelope Ford, because we just call it the flippy thing. So we might be okay on that. We might be trendsetters on that. Twisty thing and flippy thing. We know what we're talking about. I know you talked about the corkscrew dive. Looked like Danny Adams had Carlos with a Falcon Arrow. There was a very late kick out just before you got to the final move, which you talked about already. Okay, the final then is Warhorse versus Stevens. And as announced at the start, this match is not only for the tournament, but it's also for the IWTV Championship. Now, I noticed as they came out for this one, Warhorse actually had a different outfit on. I don't know what he had on for the second match, but first match he came out, I think it's that red robe. It looks kind of very regal. Kind of looks like, I don't think you've seen that show. Jackson started watching D'Artagnan and the Three Muskehounds, based on the Musketeers. Cardinal Richelieu wears a very red robe. It kind of reminded me about that a little bit. He came out in a jean jacket this time.
Like William Regal?
So, I guess so. So I don't know what he wore in the second one, but certainly he's mixing up his outfit a little bit. I also noticed on this one, the ring announcer didn't have a mic. Now, we skipped through some of the matches, because we only wanted to basically highlight Warhorse's matches, or key things that led to this final. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. He didn't have a mic all of a sudden. So it could have been the mic just broke. And they were like, well, you're just going to have to shout. But it was really difficult to hear him, I would say. Oh. Just hit the cat. Sorry, Jesse.
Oh,
she's
she's about to be part of my notes.
Hey, Heel Cat.
So Heel Cat, whenever I tried to write my notes, she was sitting next to me at the time. She just kept like clawing at the pen, so I couldn't even write.
You were teasing her as well.
And
I think
she thought it was a game.
You kept teasing her with it. She thought you were playing with her.
I put it on the floor.
She thought you were playing with her.
I put it on the floor because I wasn't using the pen.
All right, I got some more things while you're stroking the cat then. I would say there was even bigger cheers for Warhorse this time. In the round one, it was very noticeable, but in the final, even more so.
And so when there's a power bomb off the top rope, and then I have the finish.
Okay, let's see what I got then. There were shoulder barges into each other at the start, and there was a huge superplex, and there was an immediate pin. Kick out at 2. Crowd was chanting, "This is awesome," and I would absolutely agree. Now, I knew you wouldn't have this one. I noticed there was 3 flags, actually. They had the regular American flag in the middle, and then there was 2 others either side. One of them had a very thick red stripe, almost as if the white one had been covered in. It was like 3 red stripes together. And there was another one that had a big blue stripe. What's the deal? What was that all about?
So, you know how they have the Virginia flag?
Yeah?
It's probably that.
That's not the Virginia flag.
I know, but this is in Chicago, right?
Okay. You saying that's the Illinois flag?
Yeah.
What, 2 different flags?
No,
one with a blue stripe and one with a red stripe?
And then you know how they have a Cornwall flag?
Yeah.
I think it's that, too.
So you think one of them's the county flag and one of them's the state flag? All right, I'm not brilliant on my state flags, but I'm telling you right now, that's not the state flag
Well, I didn't know what it looks like, so...
I don't know what it is. I was going to ask you, and I was like, nah, I'll save that, and we'll get some gold from you when I ask you on the podcast. I don't know then. I have no idea what that... I thought that was really weird. Because you know you can't deface flags, right? Like, if the flag touches the ground here, you're supposed to burn it. Because you asked me that. At the football game we went to, the high school football game, we had a big flag because it was like Military Appreciation Day. I estimated the flag must have been about 50 feet long, because I sort of imagine people lying down next to it, where it'd be. It must have been at least 50 feet long, probably by 30 feet, and then they were shaking it a little bit, and it was starting to wobble. I was like, I hope that doesn't touch the ground, or else they got to burn it. And you're like, they do? I was like, yeah. Like, when you fold the flag, you know there's a very special way of doing that here, too. Like, they have to fold it. It's always into, like, a triangle at the end and stuff. So, no, they're very respectful of the flag. You're not supposed to even wear, like, clothing that's got the flag on it. It's supposed to be disrespectful to the flag. Now, there's certain people that do that, but it's generally not supposed to do. So, yeah, I don't know what that was. I thought that was really strange, but I'd never seen that. All right, I got one more thing. There was 3 half and halves by Warhorse. He copes with one, but anyway, gets towards the end, but not the second one or the third one, and he starts to get a little bit shaky at that point.
And then, for the 3rd time in a row, Warhorse wins with the double stomp.
And I put him to the neck again, so you thought that first one was a mistake. I don't know, actually. Perhaps that's, I don't know, to me that looks like that could really hurt. I don't know. Certain wrestling moves look like they hurt. Some don't look like they hurt at all.
I wonder how...
I saw one yesterday at the thing where they were bending his leg back, and I could see the sole of his foot, and I could see his face, and I'm like, that must really hurt. There's other ones where I'm like, that doesn't do anything at all. But
well, if I'm ever a wrestler, I have double jointed elbows, so I could use that like an Alexa Bliss thing. Make it look more painful.
You can fake it. Yeah. After the match, the fans did bang on the apron chant, and they were going, Warhorse. Warhorse. Very popular winner. Like, you could tell, like I said, from round 1 all the way through, he's somebody who energizes crowds. His matches, if I do see them on, like, IWTV, I don't watch whole events on IWTV, but there's certain people who I don't miss any events. Orange Cassidy's one. If I see him, I always watch. Chris Statlander is another one. Warhorse is another one, because you know he's going to have an energetic match, win or lose.
So, didn't you say that Nick Gage was fighting Chris Statlander?
Somebody told me that, because Uncharted Territory starts up again on Thursday, and somebody says that's one of the matches for week 1. And finally, you might be able to see, because every time I mention it, you don't know who he is. Actually, the day after this event, this was one other thing I wanted to do but didn't get the chance. Beyond Wrestling had some event where they were actually on the beach. There was one match I saw where they actually went into the ocean. They did like a suplex into the ocean and everything.
Oh.
And it's all kind of good fun. And he actually defended his title.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about that one as kind of like a postscript thing, but we kind of ran out of time a little bit. Wheeler Yuta came in. Wheeler Yuta was one of the people who he actually fought in that. It was a 3-way defense as well. He came out and called out Chris Dickinson, because I know that's always a person you're like, who? I was like, he's like, he's on Beyond. And you're like, I don't watch Beyond. I'm like, okay, fair enough. So that first episode, that might be one that we need to watch.
And the second thing was, I can't wait till Officer Magnum fights Jake Parnell or Warhorse.
We did post that, because originally he was listed as the 9th contender, because they have the top 10 each month of who's contenders for the championship. He was 9, Officer Magnum was 10. We were very excited that Officer Magnum was 10. And I think he posted, at least I'm ahead of that darn dog, or words to that effect.
Yeah.
So that was my question. If he's 9th and Officer Magnum's 10th, is he now the number 1 contender? I'm going to guess he's not.
Wouldn't that be
As
funny?
we're recording on the 29th, I'm going to guess that means then there should be a new top 10 list coming out soon. And some of those people who are on AEW, I guess they would move off that list.
Yeah.
So there could be some new names on that list that we haven't seen.
Wouldn't that be funny if, like, Mr. Velvet was in there, too, and then...
Who's that?
Teddy Hart's cat.
Oh, I had no idea who that was. Right?
I think that's what it is. And then, like, I can't think of any other... the parrot on Coco Beware. And that's
I'm
another
going to guess
one.
that's dead.
Yeah, probably.
That's probably a long... So
But-
you just want a whole animal division?
Yeah.
I think that would be tough. I think you got to have at least one human
Heel cat, heel
component.
cat.
Jesse, you can be in as well.
Because she always jumps in our wrestling ring sometimes.
I got a picture of her in your WrestleMania ring. Yeah, she stepped in it, but yours goes down the ring.
Yeah.
She did not like that at all. She stepped straight out afterwards. And I think that's it then for this one. We were obviously very pleased for Warhorse. We both put congratulations out on Twitter. Somebody who we've seen closely in the last year. We've seen him many times now at Nova Pro. Somebody who... I don't know. It felt good that it was somebody like Orange Cassidy. We met Orange Cassidy, but we don't know Orange Cassidy. Warhorse, every time we saw him at Nova Pro, we always said hi. And I thought that was really cool that it was somebody we knew a little bit
And
better.
Alley Cat could be in that division.
I guess so.
And then I guess, like, maybe, like, when we run out of people like that, Al Snow's, like, head person could be in it.
So it's just got to be people that aren't really people.
Sort of.
Okay. We'll let you come up with a list. Perhaps you can do that as a bonus episode for us at some point. All right. I think that does it for us. I think, hopefully, our next episode is going to be probably not Primetime Pro Wrestling. It probably will be something to do with AEW. I guess it depends how good that event is. And do we actually just want to go watch it for fun, or do we actually want to talk? We might just do our classic top 3 moments, but we'll see how it goes.
Well,
I guess it also depends on how busy we are as well.
For that cat thing, for that animals thing, I'm sure Matt's gonna remember that for a year, so we're gonna do that in a year probably.
I'm sure you'll get a reminder if you don't do it from Matt.
It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye to me.
And it's goodbye from them.
Goodbye.
The music was Zigzag by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. http://creativecommons.org/licenses/by/3.0/